At first, I thought grief made me paranoid, that the numbers not adding up, the missing letters, and the strange tone in my mother's voice were just my imagination. But then, one small thing changed everything. My 7-year-old daughter's secret ally told me the truth, and that's when I realized my family had stolen her entire future. Before I tell you my complete story, subscribe and comment where you're watching from. I'd love to know how far this story travels. My name is Emily Hayes, I'm 33, and I live in Portland, Oregon. Last year, I lost my husband, Mark, in a car accident on his way home from work. One rainy evening, a truck spun out of control, and in a blink, my life changed forever. Mark was thoughtful, the kind of man who planned for everything. We'd set up a trust fund and an education policy for our daughter, Lila, who was 6 at the time. He used to say, "Even if I'm gone someday, you and Lila will never have to worry." I believed him. After his funeral, my parents and my older brother, Nathan, stepped in to help. They handled paperwork, insurance claims, and the financial accounts I didn't have the strength to face. My mom, Susan, insisted she'd manage things just for a while. My dad said, "Focus on Lila, we'll handle the rest." I was drowning in grief, so I let them. I shouldn't have. Weeks turned into months. The trust account statements stopped arriving. When I asked, Mom said the bank had switched to digital only. When I called the insurance company, the representative told me the contact details on file had been changed to my mother's email. Still, I told myself they were just trying to help. Families do that, right? But then small things started happening that didn't make sense. My brother Nathan suddenly had a new truck. My parents renovated their kitchen, marble countertops, new cabinets, all on sale. When I mentioned the timing, Mom laughed. "Oh, honey, we saved for this for years." Something in her voice didn't sound right. One night, after putting Lila to bed, I sat in the kitchen staring at our nearly empty savings account. The numbers didn't lie. We were running out of money, even though Mark's insurance payout should have covered Lila's entire education. I told myself to stay calm. But then, Lila came home from school one afternoon with a paper in her hand. "Mommy," she said softly, "Mrs. Turner wants to talk to you." Mrs. Turner was her guidance counselor. She'd been kind since the accident, helping Lila adjust. I called her that evening. She hesitated before speaking. "Emily, I wasn't sure if I should reach out, but something came up." She told me that during a routine update, she received a financial aid form connected to Lila's school trust account. Except the form didn't list me as the guardian. It listed my brother, Nathan. And the signature, the one supposedly mine, was a forgery. I went silent. Mrs. Turner continued gently, "I thought maybe you'd want to know." It seemed off. That was the moment I realized who Lila's secret ally was. This woman, who barely knew us, saw something wrong and decided to tell the truth no one in my family would. That night, I checked the old file folder Mark and I used to keep all our documents in. The trust paperwork was gone. Only copies of school receipts remained. When I confronted my parents, they didn't even deny it. Mom sighed, like I was overreacting. "Emily, listen. Nathan is just managing the account better. You're under stress, and we thought it would be safer this way." "Safer for who?" I asked quietly. She smiled tightly. "For everyone. Besides, it's family money." Family money. Those 2 words made my stomach twist. I looked at Nathan. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "It's for Lila," he muttered. "I'm just investing it." "In what?" He shrugged. "Opportunities." It took everything in me not to scream. My daughter's future, her education, her father's final gift, was their opportunity. I left that night without another word. 4 days I couldn't eat or sleep. Every time I saw Lila's backpack on the floor, every time she asked, "Mom, are we okay?" I felt the weight of that betrayal crushing my chest. But I didn't yell. I didn't storm their house or call the police, not yet. Because now I had something I hadn't before, a secret ally and a reason to fight smart. Mrs. Turner helped me contact an independent financial consultant. Quietly, we started tracing the missing funds. It wasn't easy. My family had moved the money through multiple accounts, some under temporary custodianship, others disguised as property expenses. The deeper we dug, the clearer it became. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was deliberate. The trust fund was drained. My family had stolen everything my husband built for our daughter's future. And they thought I'd never find out. They were wrong. Because now I wasn't grieving. I was planning. For days after that call with Mrs. Turner, my house didn't feel like home anymore. Every sound, the creak of the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, felt too loud against the silence inside me. I'd always believed betrayal came with shouting, with slammed doors, with visible anger. But this kind was quiet, calculated. My own family had smiled in my face while stealing from my child. Lila noticed my silence. She'd sit beside me at breakfast, swinging her legs, asking questions I couldn't answer. "Mommy, why don't we see Grandma anymore? Did I do something wrong?" Her voice cracked on the last word. I forced a smile. "You did nothing wrong, sweetheart. Grown-ups just have to fix some things." She nodded, though I could see she didn't believe me. That night, I pulled out the last photo we took before Mark died. Lila sat on his shoulders, her hands tangled in his hair, both of them laughing. He looked so alive, and I had promised him I'd protect her. My family had broken that promise for me. So, I started writing everything down. Every transaction I could recall, every call, every signature I didn't recognize. I stored digital copies on a password-protected drive, one that only I and Mrs. Turner knew about. The next morning, I walked into the small bank branch where the trust was held. The manager, a polite man in his 40s named Eric, greeted me like any other customer. I asked for an appointment about a custodial update. When I sat across from him in the glass-walled office, I said calmly, "I'm the mother of the beneficiary on the Hayes Education Trust. I need to see the most recent account activity." He typed something on his computer, frowning. It looks like the account holder is listed as Nathan Hayes." I took a slow breath. He shouldn't be. He hesitated. "Ma'am, I'll need to check authorization for that." I slid a paper across the desk. The original trust document. One Mark had signed before the accident. The one my parents had thought I didn't have a copy of. Eric read it, his expression tightening. "This lists you as the primary guardian." "Exactly," I said softly. He looked uneasy. I think you need to talk to our fraud department." That afternoon, I sat in a smaller office with a woman named Lydia who specialized in account security. Her expression turned serious within minutes of reviewing the transactions. "Emily, some of these transfers were unauthorized. There are inconsistencies in signatures and routing IDs. And this," she turned her monitor toward me, "this one shows a digital authorization from an IP address not matching yours. Can you trace it?" She nodded. "Eventually. But I'll need your written consent to open an internal investigation." I signed the form. My hand shook, but not from fear. From relief. Finally, something was moving. That evening, I told Mrs. Turner everything. She listened, calm and steady, before saying, "Emily, don't confront them yet. Let the investigation run its course. People like that, they think they're untouchable until they're not." She was right. Over the next few weeks, I acted normal. I even visited my parents once, bringing Lila along like nothing had changed. My mother greeted me at the door with her usual sweet smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, you finally decided to visit," she said. Lila ran inside, clutching her favorite stuffed bunny. My dad sat in the living room, flipping channels like everything was fine. Nathan was there too, laughing into his phone. I watched him for a long time. He looked confident, comfortable, like a man who thought he'd gotten away with something. "Dinner's ready," Mom called, her voice sing-song sweet. We sat around the table, me, my parents, my brother, and Lila. They made small talk, asked about work, about school. My mom even poured me a glass of wine, as if nothing had happened. Halfway through the meal, I asked, "Mom, when was the last time you checked on Lila's trust?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "Just curious," I said. "You know, since you've been handling things for so long." Nathan's fork clattered against his plate. "Why would you ask that?" my father snapped. I smiled faintly, just wondering if it's still in good shape. Mom waved a hand. "Emily, honestly, we've been doing this for you. You don't have to worry." I leaned back in my chair, still calm. "Oh, I'm not worried." Nathan looked up sharply. "Then why bring it up?" "Because," I said softly, "I think you should start worrying." Silence. Lila looked between us, confused. Mommy. I reached over and stroked her hair. It's okay, baby. Finish your food. My mom's face paled. Emily, what's going on? I met her eyes. Let's just say, some people know more than you think. I stood up, grabbed Lila's coat, and left. I could feel their eyes burning into my back as the door closed. That night, Lydia from the bank called. Emily, we confirmed your suspicions. There were multiple unauthorized transfers, totaling nearly $120,000. Most went into an account linked to your brother and your parents. We've escalated it to our legal department. My breath caught. What happens now? They'll be notified, and once the fraud claim is processed, you'll regain control of the trust. I hung up, staring out the window at the city lights. It should have felt like victory, but it didn't. Not yet, because I knew my family. They wouldn't apologize. They wouldn't admit guilt. They'd play the victims, twist it, make me the villain. So I decided to go one step further. Mrs. Turner suggested I contact a friend of hers, David, a retired investigator who occasionally consulted for social services. When I met him at a small cafe downtown, he brought his laptop and a look of quiet curiosity. You want to prove intent, he said, sipping his coffee. Yes. I want them to face what they did, not just lose the money. He nodded. Then we document everything. Emails, transactions, family communications. You don't go to war without a paper trail. Over the next week, we collected proof, copies of digital authorizations, emails where my brother discussed liquidating excess funds, even a bank statement showing a luxury car purchase 2 weeks after the biggest withdrawal. Every file, every screenshot, every signature went into a folder labeled Project Lila. The irony didn't escape me. They had stolen from my daughter, thinking I was too weak to notice. But it was her name that would bring them down. By the end of that week, I sent the entire dossier to Lydia at the bank, who forwarded it to the fraud division. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, 3 days later, the storm hit. My mother called, her voice trembling between anger and fear. Emily, what did you do? The bank froze our accounts. Nathan's credit cards aren't working. Are you insane? I stayed quiet for a moment, then said softly, No, Mom. I'm just taking back what's mine. Her tone hardened. You'll regret this. No, I said, my voice steady. You will. I hung up. Lila was sitting on the floor, coloring, her little brow furrowed in concentration. She looked up and smiled. Mommy, did something good happen? I smiled back. Yeah, baby. Something really good. The next morning felt different. The house was quiet, almost peaceful, like the air itself was holding its breath. I stood in the kitchen, sipping my coffee while watching the rain trail down the window. For the first time in months, I didn't feel powerless. But revenge isn't a loud thing. It's not throwing plates or shouting in the street. It's quiet, deliberate, and it unfolds when the other side least expects it. That afternoon, I got a call from Lydia, the fraud investigator. Emily, she said, the investigation results were sent to the compliance board this morning. We've confirmed multiple violations. The trust will be reinstated in your name within 48 hours. 48 hours. It took me a few seconds to breathe that in. After months of deceit, grief, and gaslighting, the tide was finally turning. But then she added, There's something else you should know. One of your family members tried to access the account again this morning. When the system denied them, they filed a complaint, accusing you of mismanaging the funds. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because of how predictable it was. Let me guess, I said. My mother. Lydia sighed. Your brother. But your name's clean. The documentation you provided saved you. When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time, control. That evening, I got another call from David, the retired investigator helping me. I've been digging, he said, and you're going to want to see this. He emailed me several files. Inside were property records, bank receipts, and one document that made my hand shake. It was a loan agreement under Nathan's name, using the trust as collateral. He had borrowed money against my daughter's fund to cover his personal debts, gambling debts. The loan officer? My father's college friend. The witness? My mother. They hadn't just stolen the money. They'd used it to cover Nathan's recklessness, tying my husband's death benefit to a mountain of unpaid loans. I sat on the couch, staring at those documents until the room blurred. My parents had always protected Nathan, the golden child, the responsible one. And now, their precious son had gambled away my daughter's security, and they'd helped him hide it. I felt something inside me snap. But I didn't cry. Not anymore. Instead, I called Mrs. Turner, my quiet ally from the beginning. When I told her everything, she was silent for a long time. Then she said, "Emily, they've taken from your daughter, from you, and from your husband's memory. You don't have to destroy them, just let the truth do it for you." She was right. The truth was more powerful than any revenge I could plan. Over the next few days, I gathered every piece of proof, David's investigation, Lydia's report, and the fraudulent loan files, and sent them to my family's attorney. Not with a lawsuit. Not yet. Just a simple email with the subject line. "For your awareness." No explanation. No threats. Just the truth in black and white. By that evening, my phone started blowing up. First came my mother. "Emily, what have you done? Do you realize what you're causing?" "I'm not causing anything, Mom," I said calmly. "I'm just letting people see what you've already done." She sputtered. "Nathan could go to jail. Maybe he should have thought about that before signing my name on a loan document." Then my father. His voice was low, cold. "You'll destroy this family." I almost laughed. "No, Dad. You destroyed it the moment you helped cover a crime against your granddaughter." Click. After that, the silence from them lasted days. And then, the chaos began. Nathan's employer suspended him pending financial ethics concerns. The local bank filed a legal claim against him for unpaid loans. My parents' house, the same one where they'd hosted their perfect Sunday dinners, was suddenly under review because the collateral listed in their documents was fraudulent. It spread faster than I imagined. Every neighbor, every family friend who once praised them for being the respectable Hayes family suddenly avoided them. And I didn't have to lift a finger. That weekend, I took Lila to the park. She was laughing again, really laughing, for the first time in months. Her curls bounced as she ran ahead of me, her laughter cutting through the crisp Oregon air. When we sat on a bench eating ice cream, she looked up at me and said, "Mommy, are we happy again?" I smiled. "We're getting there, baby." But even as I smiled, my mind was working. There was still one final step left. Nathan had forged my name, stolen my daughter's money, and dragged my parents into his mess. But they still had one thing I wanted back, my husband's last piece of property. Mark had bought a small rental home before he died. After the funeral, my parents offered to help manage it, saying they'd handle taxes and tenants. I'd let them, assuming it was safe. It wasn't. A few calls with the county office confirmed my fear. They'd quietly transferred ownership to Nathan, using a signature that wasn't mine. So, I met with David one last time. "I want to reverse the transfer," I told him. He nodded slowly. "We can do that. And once we do, it's over. They'll have nothing left." The next week, I filed a legal complaint through a property attorney. It didn't take long. Within 2 months, the deed was restored under my name, and Nathan's fraudulent transfer triggered a state investigation. My parents tried calling, texting, even showing up at my house. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The day the court letter arrived, the one confirming my ownership reinstatement, I stood in my kitchen again, just like that morning months ago. But this time, the silence didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. Lila was sitting at the table drawing something. She turned the paper around proudly. It was our house. Her, me, and a small son in the corner. "Is that us?" I asked, smiling. She nodded. "Yeah, we're safe now." And she was right. We were. 3 months passed before I heard from them again. 3 months of peace. Mornings with coffee and quiet, evenings helping Lila with homework, weekends spent planting flowers in our tiny backyard. Life was simple again. Ours. But silence has a strange way of circling back before the storm breaks. It was a Sunday afternoon when a message arrived from an unknown number. Just a single line. "We need to talk before it's too late." I knew that tone. I'd grown up around it. It was a voice of guilt disguised as control. I deleted it. But by evening, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, my mother stood there, smaller somehow, her once perfect posture slightly hunched, her face pale, the confidence gone. Behind her, Nathan leaned against his car, staring at the ground. My father wasn't there. "Emily," she started, her voice trembling. "Please, just hear us out." I folded my arms. "You've had months to speak. What's changed?" She exhaled shakily. "Everything. The bank closed our accounts. Nathan lost his job, and we're being investigated for fraud. We could lose the house. You have to help us." That last sentence landed heavy, like she still thought I was the same daughter who would fix everything for them. "Help you," I said quietly. "You stole from your granddaughter. You forged my name. You called the bank behind my back. Tell me, Mom, why should I help you?" She flinched. "We made mistakes." "Mistakes?" I said, my voice rising just a little. "A mistake is forgetting to lock the door. This was betrayal. This was a choice." Behind her, Nathan finally looked up. His eyes were bloodshot, his voice hoarse. "Emily, I'm sorry, okay? I screwed up. I was desperate. I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed." I stared at him. "You didn't just steal money, Nathan. You stole Lila's future. My husband's legacy. My trust." He rubbed his face, muttering, "I know. And I'll pay it back." "How?" I asked, crossing my arms. "You've already lost everything." He had no answer. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt nothing. Just the kind of exhaustion that comes from years of being the one who forgives. I stepped aside and pointed toward the street. "Go home, Nathan. Both of you. I've said what I needed to say." Mom hesitated, tears welling. "We're family, Emily." I nodded slowly. "Exactly. And that's why this hurts so much." Then I closed the door. That night, as Lila slept, I sat by her bedside, watching her small chest rise and fall with each breath. I thought about the woman I'd been before, the one who always chose silence, who let guilt and loyalty bury her boundaries. She was gone. Mrs. Turner called the next day, her voice warm as ever. "I heard everything's finally settled," she said. "It is," I said softly. "The trust's back under my name, the property's secured, and they're facing their consequences. But you know the best part." "What's that?" "Lila doesn't know any of it. To her, it's just peace again. A home that feels safe." She laughed gently. "That's what real revenge looks like." I smiled. "Yeah, it is." 2 weeks later, I received an unexpected letter. It was from my father. The envelope was creased, the handwriting shaky. "Emily, I know we don't deserve forgiveness. I know what we did can't be undone. But please remember that I'm proud of you, not for what you exposed, but for who you've become. Take care of Lila. Don't let her grow up like we raised you, apologizing for your strength." I read it twice, then folded it away. I didn't forgive him, not entirely, but I understood something in that moment. Revenge wasn't about destruction. It was about reclaiming power that was stolen. And I had done that. Spring came, soft and slow. Lila and I painted her bedroom walls a pale blue, the color she called sky before sunrise. She laughed when I spilled paint on my jeans, her joy echoing through the house that now belonged to us. Fully, legally, emotionally. One evening, we sat on the porch watching the sunset melt into gold. Lila leaned against me and said, "Mommy, when I grow up, I'm going to help people too. Like Mrs. Turner helped us." My throat tightened. "That's a beautiful thing to want, sweetheart." She smiled sleepily. "I think Daddy would be proud." I looked out at the fading light, the horizon glowing like a promise. "He would, baby," I whispered. "He really would." And for the first time since losing him, I believed it. Because this peace, this quiet, was something I'd built myself. Piece by piece, after everything they took. My family stole my daughter's future. But in the end, I took it back. Would you have done the same? Tell me in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one.